In today's show, we look at how New York City Democrats just elected an idiotic socialist to be their nominee for mayor. And did I get it wrong about Iran? All right, let's get into the show. Yesterday was New York City's primary for the mayoral candidate. The front runner up until recently was Andrew Cuomo, but the winner turned out to be Zohran Mamdani, a democratic socialist from New York. That's a self-described democratic socialist. Let's have him, in his own words, describe some of the solutions he has for the city.
Grocery prices are out of control. The cost of eggs and milk has skyrocketed. Some stores are even using dynamic pricing, jacking up the cost over the course of a day depending on what they can get away with. It doesn't need to be this way. I'm Zohran Mamdani, and as mayor, I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce. We will redirect city funds from corporate supermarkets to city-owned grocery stores, whose mission is lower prices, not price gouging. These stores will operate without a profit motive or having to pay property taxes or rent, and will pass on those savings to you. They'll partner with small businesses and nearby farms and sell at wholesale prices. The job of city government isn't to tinker around the edges while 1 in 4 children across our city go hungry.
So let's break down what this idiot is suggesting over here, because it's really quite something. His idea to lower prices is to have city-owned and city-run grocery stores. Now, before we get into whether it would actually lower prices, is there any government-run place that you like to go to? Is there ever any time when you've walked out of a government office and said, boy, oh boy, that was an efficient experience. I got in there, I got whatever I needed, and then I walked right out. How about when you went to the DMV? Yeah, was that great for you? How about when you go to a court, when you have jury duty? Does that work out well? When you need to get a license from the state, when you get anything from the state, it's always terrible. And this guy wants to make your grocery stores there. And what's his explanation? Well, because the stores are engaged in dynamic pricing, because they're price gouging. It's the stores that are price gouging. These socialists do not understand anything about economics, anything. The reason why prices have been going up is because of reckless government spending and inflation, which this guy believes in, because he's a socialist. So he believes in more and more spending. And they will operate without the profit motive. If you want to know the explanation why dealing with the government sucks, it's because it operates without the profit motive. Capitalism has raised billions of people out of poverty. In the 20th century, countries that adopted capitalistic economic policies, like China, raised the child mortality rate by orders of magnitude. The only thing that has kept food cheap is capitalism. Constant investment, the profit motive. This guy has no concept of what these things mean. And we can yell at this guy all along. We can yell about this guy all day long. But who elected him? And so this is what I'm starting to realize. And it needs to be said. The voters are stupid and they deserve who they elect. The voters are stupid and they deserve who they elect. I'm looking at LA, Karen Bass. I'm looking at Brandon Johnson in Chicago. If you keep electing idiotic leaders after idiotic leaders, his favorite leader was the worst mayor in history, Bill de Blasio, that cringe, awful, weird guy who ran the city into the ground. And this is who you picked? Somebody who doesn't know anything about economics? He happens to be anti-Israel. I know there were a lot of campaigns about that. He's wrong about that too, because he's stupid. But how do you elect a mayor who doesn't understand anything about economics? How do you elect a mayor that wants to arrest how do you elect a mayor like this who thinks that rent controls are going to cause rent to be lower? He just doesn't know anything. And so voters, you must not know anything. I say to the Democrats, the Democratic voters in yesterday's primary, you are fools. But you do have an out over here, because the Democratic Party picked the worst possible candidates. Who was the one behind him? Andrew Cuomo, the failed governor of New York, who had to resign in disgrace, the tomcatting creep who killed thousands of people with his stupid COVID policies and got in the news every day acting like he was the hero. How could that have been the other choice? Are there no candidates in New York? It's unbelievable. How do you pick such stupid candidates? And who are the other candidates in this race? Well, there's 2 parties in America, and here there's going to be multiple. So the current mayor of New York is Eric Adams. Eric Adams is a clearly corrupt politician who took kickbacks from Turkey. Trump dropped the charges because that was a stupid thing Trump did, but he clearly was guilty. And who's the other candidate, you might ask? And who is the other candidate, you might ask? This dude, Curtis Sliwa, this guy that wears this weird red hat, who's running around New York. I don't know. Why is he the candidate? Such a weird guy. Why the Republicans, when you have a field where you could run against an actual democratic socialist, are you picking such a weird guy? Why can't we just have a normal mayor, some businessman who knows how to make sure that the cops are doing their job and the firemen are running their jobs? Why do we have to radically change? Why do we have to have such weird candidates? Why do we have to have such transformative elections? And why can't you pick candidates who understand things? Go read up. Go understand about economics. Go read up on economics. Go understand what it means. What it would mean to have what it would mean to have groceries run like this. Go look up and understand these reforming progressive mayors who are not going to prosecute crimes, who are going to run it into the ground, who are not going to clean up the migrant problem, who are not going to clean up the homeless problem. They're not going to arrest anyone. The city is going to turn violent into a violent hellhole more than it was under de Blasio, and you will be to blame because you wrecked your own city. And I love New York. Why do you have to wreck your own city? Voters, stop being idiots. All right, so last week I made the claim that Trump should not bomb Iran. My thinking was like this. I assumed that Israel had an option to take out the nuclear facilities in Fordow. So I thought it would be better if Israel does it. I would prefer America not to get involved. And I didn't want America to get involved for two reasons. Firstly, I didn't want it to look like America was dragged into a war by Israel. And secondly, I thought that it could quickly and easily spiral out of control. I also pointed out that Israel and the US's desired outcomes are not the same, whereas Israel really wants a regime change. And Israel really predominantly wanted to destroy the nuclear program without a deal, without the lifting of sanctions. It was probably in America's interest to make a deal. All right, but everything changed Saturday night when Trump authorized bombings of Iran. Now, a lot of people are saying it's unconstitutional and illegal. And the answer is that it probably is unconstitutional. But if it's unconstitutional, then it's been unconstitutional for Biden, Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, Bush. They've all done very legal things, and Congress seems to have abdicated its responsibility in terms of war powers. This is a terrible fact of life. I would like some way to rein this in. But in the meantime, that's neither here nor there. He's not getting impeached for this. Fine. The question is, could this have escalated out of control? It certainly could have. The fact that Trump played this masterfully is not what I would say it's probably the exception rather than the rule. You don't want to have a foreign policy that requires a masterstroke of diplomacy. What Trump achieved by bombing Iran, allowing them to do a fake bomb back into the U.S., and then immediately calling for a ceasefire and achieving one, a missile attack back into an American base, which was thwarted, and then immediately achieving a ceasefire is something that I didn't see happening right away, and it's very, very impressive. This could have easily turned into the next Iraq. If, let's say, Iran had attacked without warning, or if they had blocked the Straits of Hormuz, then there would have been an escalation, and it could have easily been an all-out war. And I think in a way, Israel was kind of hoping for that. They didn't get it, but they were hoping for it. They're hoping for it. And Israel is a little disappointed that they had to end the war, which is why they did drop a bunch of bombs right at the end. And which is why, Netanyahu is explaining to his cabinet, even if the war had continued, it's not clear we would have achieved that. Because that's really what Israel wanted. And from that perspective, maybe it would have been better if America hadn't gotten involved. But I accept that I accept that Israel was. I accept that it would have been unlikely that Israel to be able to maintain a protracted war. So that's neither here nor there. So let's look at So I did not foresee this. I think it's a very impressive achievement what Trump pulled off, being able to get the Iranians and the Israelis to stop, and for Iran not to retaliate against America after blowing up their facilities is pretty impressive. Now let's talk about what was achieved over here. So this is still very unclear. So America dropped 12 bunker busting bombs. Now they either made it all the way down to the facility or they didn't. And we're going to find out in the coming days, or we may never completely find out. It is also unclear where the enriched uranium is, because it's likely that Iran moved some of it. Now, once you have enriched uranium, you can already make a bomb from that. And especially if they remove the centrifuges, so they can continue to enrich uranium. So it's not 100% clear to me what was achieved. From Israel's perspective, what was achieved is the complete humiliation of the Iranian regime. they look like the new boys, the new powerhouse in the Middle East. They've gained back a lot of the prestige since October 7th. They've shown that Iranian air defenses can be completely destroyed, which means that if there ever needs to be attack in the future, it's possible. But what actually was achieved remains to be clear. And now they're already saying that it knocked it all. It knocked off the Iranian this attack knocked the Iranians' nuclear program back many years, which means that they're going to have to go in again, or they're going to have to push the regime change. And this is becoming a big problem to understand. This is a difficult problem. Can rogue regimes be stopped from gaining weapons of mass destruction? And that's an open question. And so it's a little bit of a wait and see here. What was actually achieved? Now, Iran is going to be attacking the United States probably in other ways. There almost certainly be terrorism. There will almost certainly be cyber attacks. And again, it's an important question to know if it was worth it for the U.S. to get involved. But in general, I would say that as long as this didn't result in an extreme regime change war that America was blamed for, I say that's good. I say it's a net positive, even from the Americans' perspective, that the Iranian regime's nuke program is out. I like that the sanctions are still there because the justification is the biggest state sponsor of terror, and so it worked out really well. But it could have worked out really well, but it could have gone bad. And I would prefer foreign policy that is not always on a knife's edge. But well done to Trump. A masterstroke of diplomacy. All right, that will do it today, guys. Have a good one. Being idiots. All right, that's all I have to say about that.